All new and only on 11 Alive, a 37-year-old mystery in a small Georgia town is solved.
Yeah, it's an amazing story tonight. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn takes us inside the lab, solving those unsolvable cases as a grateful family can finally say goodbye.
On May 24th, 1985, a woman was found in a ditch in Newton. That's a small town in Baker County in South Georgia. She was barely alive, no identification, only known as Jane Doe. She died 8 days later on June 1st. In 2012, her body was exhumed and a sample of her bone fragment was collected for DNA. It was sent off, but no luck. Then last year, in March, they tried again with a lab in Texas using cutting-edge DNA testing. In October, a DNA profile was developed, and 3 weeks ago, Jane Doe was finally identified and her children got a call none of them ever expected.
There was 37 years of hope that just met, 3 weeks of reality.
Daniel Cowan was just 7 years old when his mom vanished in 1985 in Central Florida.
We never heard from Mom again.
As the years passed,
There's not a lot of hope, but I guess I'd always hoped that she would, come waltzing back into my life.
3 decades after their mom disappeared, her kids' worlds would be turned upside down.
She said, Dan, we think we found Mom.
A call they'd been waiting on for 37 years. Just not how they'd hoped it would turn out.
And he said, well, there was a Jane Doe in Georgia in 1985 that turned up in May, and I'm pretty sure it's Mom.
Their mom had been right here the whole time.
She missed so much of life.
On January 31st, the GBI identified Jane Doe as Mary Cowan. She was just 28 years old. And it was inside this Texas lab, Othram scientists did what no one else could since 1985.
We can work with evidence that others have considered unusable. We pull hundreds of thousands of markers. So we're getting information from previously inaccessible evidence. It's a remarkable case.
Remarkable on multiple levels, from everyone who worked the case to those who watched over a woman, only known as Jane Doe.
She had people that cared for her. They cared enough that 37 years later, they were still looking. I'd given up.
Those investigators never gave up. As for how Mary Cowan died, they believe she fell off a semi, which back then it was typical for people to hitchhike across this country. The GBI tells me this case is not closed yet, but they will likely close it within the next week.
Cody, do we know how they funded all of this?
Well, this is actually very interesting. This is the first of a few cases that the federal government has actually funded. This is part of the Institute of Justice, and typically they do this by crowdfunding, but this is the first of its kind where they've actually funded this with federal dollars, and the Othram says this is what it's going to take for their lab to continue to do these for law enforcement.
Absolutely, man. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Cody. We really appreciate that.